Are you losing the line of scrimmage battle due to weak 3-point stances? In my 15 plus years of coaching, I can tell you a poor stance can sabotage every play from the start. So in this video, I'm going to show you a simple proven approach to teach your players the correct defensive 3-point stance that will easily improve your line play. So now we're going to walk you through step by step of how to get in the 3-point stance. And more of these clips can be found inside of Victory Pro if you do want to learn about defensive line play. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to take our dominant hand. So for this player here, his dominant hand is going to be his left hand. So we're going to take our left foot and we're going to put it to our heel, just like that. Once we get it to our heel, then we're going to step out at a 45 degree. Now, this player has a little bit of a narrow base, so his feet are a little bit narrow, which I'm fine with. But you want your foot, again, at a 45 degree backwards, because that's going to be your power foot. So if you notice here, his toe is in line with his heel. It can be a little bit further back. That's perfectly fine too. We just don't want it so far back where it's back here, where you don't have any drive from that power step. So that's first things first, is get to that heel, get to that 45 degree. And then what we're going to do is we're going to squat down into our stance. So player's going to get set and he's going to squat down just like that. So if you notice, we engage the hips. The hips are now loaded up, all right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to reach out with that dominant hand just like that. Now, if you notice here, this player, his hand's a little bit in front of his head. This is exactly where I want it. The reason for that is if the football is right here, and you see this all the time. You see it in the NFL, you see it in college, high school, youth as well. Let's say the football is on the 41-yard line. If your head is going to be the marker for not being offsides, you're more likely going to be offsides because you think you're going to be good, but you're not. So I always tell our guys, like, let's use our hand as the marker. So when you put your hand out and you can see it, he can see that he's on the 39-yard line and he knows, okay, I'm not offsides. But if you use your head just to look down, more likely than not, your head's going to be offsides, okay? So that's why I always want that hand to be a little bit more in front. But you see here, as this player gets into the stance, he's in the loaded up stance, his hips are loaded up, and he's ready to fire off the football. Now, there's a few things that I want to make sure we cover in this video is if you're playing defensive end, I want to push off this foot here. And the reason for that is, you think about a track stance and getting off the football. I want to use this foot to drive off. However, if I'm playing in an interior defensive line stance, I want to try to get this foot in the ground as fast as I possibly can. And the reason for that is if I do lose leverage, so let's say a defensive lineman does get underneath my shoulder pads and drive me out, I want to be able to have all cleats in the ground. That way I can recover and drive and get underneath his pads as I'm driving up and through. So again, the key point is defensive end wise, if we're using a speed position, let's drive this foot off like we're in a track stance and get off the football. If we're playing defensive line where contact happens now and ASAP, I want to try to get this thing driven into the ground. That way I can drive up and through and go through his chest. A few other notes we want to make sure we cover as well. If your player has too much weight on his front hand, you'll see, especially if you're coaching youth, he'll want to put, instead of being on his fingertips, he'll want to put his entire fist down or his entire hand down flat. And the reason they want to do that is their hips and everything are just way too far forward. So all that weight is going to be on the hand and it's going to be super uncomfortable for them. So what you want to teach your players is let's teach them how to get that fingertip strength by realizing how much weight is on that front hand. Again, way too much. You'll see these hips start to come up. So you'll notice when they get in their stance, everything will just rock forward and the hips will come up a little bit. And their body's saying, hey, this is way too much weight on a hand. We need to be able to take some weight off of it. So again, or if it'll just want to put a fist on the ground or a hand on the ground, of course, we don't want that. Now, the flip side to that is if their hand is barely touching the ground, like their fingertips are just barely on the ground, there's not enough weight forward. So that's a good test to see, are they putting too much weight forward? Their fist or palms usually on the ground. Is there not enough weight on it? They'll barely be touching the ground. So we want to find that middle spot, again, where we can be on the fingertips and be able to comfortably be in that stance. Now, when the head, and you'll notice this player does it in a second here, when we get in our stance, all right, there's two ways you can play this. If you're a defense that likes to play the man in front of you because you're playing react attack, meaning I'm going to react off my offensive lineman and attack through him, then your eyes should be on the player. If you're someone that wants to key the football, then your eyes should be to the football. But that's the last part of the stance, is to get loaded up. And then we want to make sure, one more thing, is this hand, I don't want this hand to be down here. Some guys will have it down. Some will have it back here where it's loaded up. If you're in a defensive end stance, it's a little bit different because the contact doesn't happen now. But if we're in an interior defense line stance, just like this player has right here, like I want this hand ready to go because when I fire off with this foot, I need this hand to shoot and then this hand to shoot as well. But this is going to be your first contact point. Ideally, we want them to go pop, pop as we're striking through. But if you can get both of them striking at the same time, obviously that's more beneficial because you're bringing more power with you. But as we're striking, it's good in practice to learn that both hands need to strike out while your hips and everything are coming up and through with it. All right. So that's what I'm thinking from a hips, hands, one hand on the ground, and then one hand up. If you want to get in a 4-point stance, it's the same concept where now we're going to brace with this hand as well. And now we're firing off both hands and we're coming out of the hips as we're trying to strike up and through. But again, not much changes from the 4-point. Just a few notes I want to make is if your player is having a hard time, like this player has really good flexibility, so he's able to look to the inside, he can bring his head up if he needs to. If your players have a hard time seeing the player in front of you, we do not want our head to be down like that. Because if their head is down, that means when they fire out, their head's going to be down as well. It's extremely dangerous. So if you need to drop their butt a little bit, that will bring their chest up and will bring their head up as well. All right. So it's just a little key point that if your player doesn't have the flexibility, or maybe he's just too big and he's not able to have that flexibility with his helmet, maybe he doesn't have a big neck. So when he tries to lift his head up, his helmet doesn't allow him to look up. Drop the hips. So that's going to be the first thing is drop his hips and then bring his chest up a little bit. And that will at least give him a fighting chance to be able to get his hands onto the offensive lineman and still be able to hit and see what he's hitting. So we're not just firing off blindly and not putting our hands on anything. So when we fire out, we have to get hands on something. But again, those are like little troubleshooting tips I like to give coaches is just if we can't see it because our head is down, drop the hips down, and that will allow you to bring your chest back up. So that's how you get in a 3-point stance. If you want to continue to build the perfect defensive lineman, you need to check out this video here next.